7 ESPN The Zone.
It entertains me, and I enjoy listening on the way home.
Can you get me a little typeset?
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Your tire's tired.
Well, the lunchtime whistle and the morning's finally done. I'm jumping in my car, I'm gonna have a little fun. The Doghouse Network's on my radio dial. Big Dog's taking care of business for a while. If you're listening to another station I don't understand, 'cause nobody does it like Thom Abraham.
Give us a call, Steve.
He's a northern-bred, southern-fed, slick-talking guy. Listeners in his posse are the junkyard dogs. The SEC from Tennessee to calling them hogs. From Gainesville up to Lexington to the Titan Tiger Land, nobody does it like Thom Abraham.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond?
Welcome in to the Thom Abraham Show. This is Chad Gwathney. This is a Takeover Thursday as we are taking over the show as Thom Abraham is out of the box. He is on his way to another Bassmaster event as he's getting ready for the 2023 Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Classic presented by Toyota on the Tennessee River in Knoxville, Tennessee. So he's getting ready for that. That'll be over the next 3 days starting tomorrow. And as I got across the glass, one Bandyman Bailey Lowery and Captain Cool John Abraham from the Afternoon Blitz. That is why is a Takeover Thursday. I appreciate them being in as always to help me out. Any of the guys around the studio, they're able to help me as well. We just have a great show on hand for you. Let me get the particulars out of the way. Make sure you follow us at 977 ESPN. You can follow me at Gwathney Chad. You can follow the show at Thom Abraham Show. You can follow John Abraham at CPT Cool 420 and Bailey Lowery at B Lowery 2016, right? Yeah, I have to do that every time, man. I have to make sure I get that right every time, and I appreciate them being here. But thank you so much. And we got a lot of guests on today, so it will be some live, it will be some recorded. We've got first up at 12:15, we've got Steve Merrill from Wager Talk TV. He's going to break down the latest from around the Sweet 16. We got Alec Bussey from Rivals.com. He's going to give us his perspective on Kansas State in the Sweet 16 as we get ready for a lot of those matchups tonight. And, of course, I got a conversation, or Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball and I got a conversation from one. It was more of a request from somebody. Brandon Pilcher, a great listener, was able to alert us about this. We got a great conversation between the men's and women's wheelchair basketball head coach, Ford Bertram and Ryan Hines. So we have two great interviews in the second hour. That'll be in the second hour, about the middle of the show. So stay tuned, and be ready for that. But what better way to introduce the guys and get them on in the studio with me right now? And guys, thank you so much for being on with me.
Oh, no doubt about that. I mean, it should be another... You got me? All right.
No, you're good. No, I was making sure it was a little louder. No, you're good.
Right.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it should be a good little episode. There's a lot to talk about in, the sporting world as a whole. I mean, obviously everything that's going on with the free agency, still players getting picked up, still a lot to figure out, as well as just over the bracket. I mean, March Madness is about to hit on for part 2, and the madness should definitely continue because we got some great games upcoming, and I can't wait to talk to Steve about a lot of that type of stuff.
Oh, 100%. Like, this Sweet 16 is looking incredibly stacked, and some of these matchups are really actually looking like a relative coin toss.
Yeah.
Kansas State, Michigan State, which we're going to be talking about a little later with Alec Bussey, as one the Grizz brought up earlier, and as well as Tennessee and FAU. I don't know, without Tennessee without their best player, this could still be a little bit closer than one might think.
Yeah, and if you just look over at what FAU was able to do, they didn't have the toughest schedule, but they did beat a good Memphis team that I personally said would probably end up beating a good Purdue team that sadly lost to Fairleigh Dickinson, or happily lost to Fairleigh Dickinson, because I was all there for seeing it, okay? My bracket was already shot out of the water, so it was interesting to see. And then, obviously, FAU had a good little matchup against them, beat them to go forward. And now, seeing, Tennessee as well as Alabama, and, put some respect on, what Arkansas has been able to do as well. we have some great games to watch this upcoming, well, today and tomorrow. And, I mean, it should just continue to be really great. And, again, I mean, Steve's going to help us out with figuring out which teams might be able to go forward. And if you guys are trying to do the second chance, you might have a better chance after listening to what we got to talk about.
Well, see, I'm nervous because I've been looking at the 97.7 ESPN Zone Bracket Challenge presented by One Talent Heating and Air.
Of course.
I've been looking at the standings, and I've really been enjoying that 2 spot by my name. And I know by the end of today and tomorrow, that's going to change.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be up there anymore.
No, without a doubt. I mean, that's the reason why I think we were going to bring on Steve as well, is because we have the trifecta going on as well. So you still technically, if you want to text the trifecta in, you still technically have time from yesterday to get your reconstructed Final Four, I'll say, and then give Thom basically your winner. So you're going to give the Final Four of what's left in the Sweet 16, and then you're going to give your winner. So make sure you text that over to 732-982-7469. That's 732-982-7469, and you can still get that through. And at least when we get Steve on, you can get his perspective, and then maybe you can, if you have not gotten in on the contest, you can still get in on that as well. So that'd be a great way to. So obviously, our game doesn't, the game we care about on this radio station doesn't start until tomorrow. Pre-game will start at 4:30 for the Alabama basketball. Taking on San Diego State Aztecs. The game starts, of course, at 5:30, so get ready for that. So we're excited. I know that everyone's excited around the station to kind of have a little. So you will not have the drive tomorrow night, but you will have the drive tonight. So I believe Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball will be joining Wes and Steve tonight as well from the drive. You'll have a full 2 hours of the drive as well. So we're always looking forward to that. But guys. Crazy updated news. We're going to be, we're obviously going to be doing The Voice. We're going to be doing a lot of good things for the Huntsville City FC team. Kind of talk about something different other than what we normally talk about college basketball, because we're going to have college basketball like crazy all day today.
It's not even been 10 minutes into his takeover, and we're already talking about something completely different.
We're already talking about something that literally no one's caring about right now, but it's literally... It's a sport that we don't care about, but it's literally something that's impacting our city, something that we're so excited for, right? I know that I'm absolutely excited for. I've been able to watch a lot of the preseason games. It's just been absolutely really cool to see. But you finally have your first ever launch kit, and we're talking about, jersey for the Huntsville City FC. So we're very excited for that. We're very excited for the team to see where they go. Jack Collison and the boys are going to be able to do a lot of good things in this city. As much as we do care about, the Trash Pandas and the Havoc and everything like that, I think we're going to do a great job bringing the fan base. A lot of sold out tickets, still a lot of extra areas, in the outer area, upper tank basically,
Yeah.
and Joe Davis still, as it's not completed, but there are still some ticket packages available. So if you're interested in that, but I believe that they're already selling the jerseys. So if you want to get the away kit, they've launched today. It's a great little thing. The first sponsor on the jersey will be Renaissance Bank. So congratulations to them. Thank you them, for being the first sponsor ever on the first ever kit. This is MLX Next Pro. You know what I mean? These guys are basically going to go up to the MLS. They're right there. And this is huge for, the city of Huntsville and just how much we're going to bring in and how much we just, you can go see John Hunt Park. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful park, beautiful soccer fields. It's just a great thing to have in the city.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that Huntsville's doing a great thing bringing in not the big name teams. We don't need any of these huge professional sports teams to come in, like an NFL team or an NHL team. I think it's perfect the way they're doing it because as the city's slowly growing, actually quickly growing now, Huntsville's been adding these teams like the Trash Pandas, like the HCFC, and it's and also, the Havoc. They're all just they're teams that are, they cater to a city like this to where it's we don't have the large amount of people that would, go out to see an NFL game, but we do have plenty of people to go out and watch a baseball game, or now we can watch a soccer game and even a hockey game. It all fits in to one little bundle that you can only get in Huntsville, and I'm loving that extremely. It's a wonderful vibe, and I can't wait to move down here just so I can experience it all just 100%.
It also kind of gives it more of a little bit of a local feel too. You know what I mean? If it's, I wouldn't say because it's a league down, it feels more local. It's kind of more, it gives like that more like a more personal feel when you
No,
go to
yeah.
games and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it feels more like, hey, this is our thing.
Exactly.
You know, this is Huntsville's thing.
Yeah, no, and it's like
And we're also just getting more sports in Huntsville, which I'm all for.
I know.
I'm all for just upping the variety and what to watch here in town.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you talking about that. I mean, back whenever the Alabama Hammers were playing, okay, the arena football team. I mean, just being able to go down onto the field, like talk with some of the players. There's more of a personal appeal to it because then you can actually, connect with some of these players, and then you can tell your friends, hey, I used to talk to, whatever this guy's name is, and now he's in like the professionals and stuff like that. And it's super cool because it really does give that local feel. We can go up and talk to our players, our favorite players, after the game without, security coming and taking us away for giving them like a handshake or something like that. And it's really cool. I mean, Ben Joyce, looking at him for the Trash Pandas. Getting to see him go from Tennessee to then just go onto the Trash Pandas field and throwing 104 miles per hour and getting to watch that. Just, it is amazing. And also getting to meet him as well. I mean, I know I worked for the Trash Pandas a little bit, but I mean, a lot of people got to meet him who were just typical fans. And it's just wonderful to see because, I mean, now the guy's doing great things for the Angels during spring training. And there's no telling how far his career can go moving forward. I mean, a guy that throws 105 miles an hour, it's unnecessarily fast, but it does the job.
And then when that player gets called up and he's just doing really good things in the major leagues or like in that next level, it's like, you know what? It's like we got to see where he started from. Like it just again, it gives more personal thing.
I mean, just
more invested.
Just what? We're in 2023, so we're talking, I would say 8 years ago. I was watching this kid called Orlando Arcia, and I thought he was going to be the next shortstop for the Brewers. Then all of a sudden the Braves get him, and I'm like, I remember watching this kid. Like, I mean, he still has a lot of talent. He needs to work on his defensive, and his batting has just been in the majors has not been great. So he's been up and down. But it was like when the Braves made that trade for him, it was like, what's going on now? And now it's like we're over here talking about where this guy could be taking the job of two young guys in the Braves farm system, in Shoemake and Von Grissom, where it's just like, okay, I don't know where we're going here, but I just remember watching literally this guy, playing at Joe Davis. Now it's going to be a soccer stadium soon, but literally playing the last few games as a Huntsville Star / Biloxi Shucker.
Yeah, I think they still sell Dippin' Dots there.
They definitely will. You know that they're going to be going after the Dippin' Dots. I mean, you see the Trash Pandas doing the Dippin' Dots. It's a wonderful success. And I mean, just like going back to that though, the realization does come whenever these players that we watch grow up and become their own here in Huntsville. Whenever they get onto a team that you actually have some interest in, like the Braves for Chad, or the Browns for me. Any football players that come out of anywhere in this area. I know that there's not, a huge commodity for football yet, but we're hoping that, maybe they bring an AFL team to Huntsville, at least personally me, because I would love to see some more arena football. And with the league, being resurrected, I mean, Huntsville would be a perfect place for that type of sport, especially because you look at the past success of it. But I mean, even those players can end up, in the NFL and stuff like that. Like, look at Kurt Warner and all that stuff. Just like, whenever those players, end up on your favorite team in, the pros, that's when it comes to, oh, wow, like, I saw this guy play. Whenever they go to a random team, in the pros, you're thinking, that's pretty awesome. Good for him. I could say that he's a Huntsville local. He was a Huntsville local. But if he's on your team, personally, that makes that the realization just kicks in. It's like,
seen
wow.
so many different people come through here. Yeah. I mean, through the Stars, through now you got the Trash Pandas. I mean, we're going to be able to see that now. Obviously, we see that with the Havoc because they go to the ECHL, and sometimes they go beyond that. It's just huge. It's huge for the city, and it's just a big impact for sure. And, of course, today, if you do want to catch some local high school baseball at the Trash Panda at Toyota Field, you have Holtville versus Opelika at 1 p.m., so that'll start in about less than an hour. At 4 p.m., you got Holtville versus Priceville. And then, of course, James Clemens will be playing tonight at 7 p.m. They are going to be playing Creekwood, the Red Hawks. They are out of Charlotte, Tennessee. So if you do want to catch some high school action, there's still a lot of stuff going on around Toyota. This is it's from March 1st. It started on March 1st. It goes to April 24th. You have a ton of different high school teams showcasing their talents and everything like that. So it's a lot of good things to be able to do that as well. So hopefully, once the the soccer field is completed, we'll get a lot of good high school talent on that field too. So I can't wait for that and whatever else might be coming in the future as well. But let's go to a break. We've got, like we said, we've got Steve Merrill from Wager Talk TV coming up next. This has been Thom Abraham's show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Check out VSiN's catalog of original podcasts, daily and weekly programming to keep you in the know when you're on the go. Only at VSIN.com. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
NCAA Sweet 16 action starts today. Alabama, the favorite to win the national title, plus 350. Houston, plus 410. Odds to win the East region, Tennessee, plus 500. Kansas State, plus 900. Michigan State, plus 1,200. Florida Atlantic, plus 2,700. Odds to win the South region, Alabama, plus 200. Creighton, plus 750. San Diego State, plus 1,000. Princeton, plus 10,000. The favorite in the Midwest, Houston, plus 135. Texas, plus 450. Xavier, plus 900. Miami, plus 1,000. UCLA, the leader to win the West, plus 350. Gonzaga, plus 400.
The crimson and white jerseys.
Front court, to the rack, and the flood.
The sound of a buzzer beater.
Got it to go as the buzzer sounds.
The Roll Tide chant from the crowd. It can only be Alabama basketball. Join the Alabama Crimson Tide right here on your home for Alabama basketball.
Listen to Alabama basketball all season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
The calendar does read March, and that means it's time for you to enjoy some Talon Heating and Air St. Patty's Day specials. And if the utility companies have been taking all the green out of your wallet, Talon Heating and Air, Thomas, has the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow to help you put it back in.
That's right. We have a special right now for all the listeners of this commercial. You get $1,000 off, in addition to excellent savings with the Bosch equipment.
It's Talon Heating and Air St. Patty's Day special, and tell them how they can ring you guys up.
That's right. They can give us a call at 256-503-4490 or at talenthvac.com.
Talon Heating and Air will have you seeing more green this March. And if you're feeling really lucky this March, make sure you join our 97.7 ESPN The Zone Bracket Challenge presented by Talon Heating and Air. Maybe they'll have you seeing more green.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhsriserealestate.com.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg.
This is Mike Greenberg. Be sure and download the app today. Just search for 97.7 ESPN and listen to my show every weekday right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now more of the Thom Abraham Show on your home for Crimson Tide Sports 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Thom Abraham Show. I was trying to figure out why all of a sudden I lost everything on the camera. Like everything just reverted back to.
It's all right. I was jamming out.
I was trying to figure out why I just all of a sudden lost the camera there for a second.
Totally
I don't know what happened.
I gotta admit, I love the songs to bring in on the Thom Abraham Show. I'll admit it. Okay, I've been trying to get Bandy to help me out with trying to change some of the
Let
songs
me know.
up.
I will. I mean, as much as Tom asked me, some other stuff. I mean, we do throw in like good bit of other music. So I mean,
like just send me a list. I'll throw in my own inputs and I'll just put on a flash drive.
He's got the flash drives. He can,
You know what I
he can
like,
make you some
Bandy?
music.
I can't read your
It's
mind.
all right. I get it from his dad. It's all right. You got to get it from him, so it's okay. It's understandable, you know.
I can't read your mind, Captain Gould.
There's only a few that a few, and then there's a few extra that you learned about yesterday that I was like, oh yeah, put it in. The Police, put it some Men at Work, all of that stuff.
Interesting choices. I'll give you that.
Hey, we like to have the throwback right there. I know I don't seem like it, but either way.
Well, throwback, takeover, whatever you want to call it on this Thursday. It is a wonderful day here as we are able to take over the Thom Abraham Show, as John and Bailey and I are going to be able to have a conversation right now with Steve Merrill from Wager Talk TV and ProSportsInfo.com. Does a great job when we can ask him about anything college basketball, NBA, NASCAR. I mean, this guy can do it all. But we just want to break down the latest and the greatest around the Sweet 16. Of course, we're getting ready for the Alabama game tomorrow as well. But, Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, guys. Great to be here.
Yes, Steve. I mean, just kind of break down what you got on the best bets for, tonight. We got a lot of Tennessee fans around here. They like that physical play. It seems like that's gotten the best of teams, especially the Alabama Crimson Tide. There's the way they're so physical, the way they're just able to play and scrap out games. What do you see against a very offensive FAU team?
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic example of better defense versus better offense. Florida Atlantic's not a household name, and I think people might be dismissing them because they had a very easy second-round game against a 16 seed in Fairleigh, who played them tight. But this is a really good Florida Atlantic team. If you look at their metrics on the season, they're almost top 30 in both offense and defensive efficiency. Tennessee, of course, is the best defensive team in the country. They showed that against Duke, shot below 41%, still won that game with their defense, holding the Blue Devils to just 52 points. But Florida Atlantic ranks as the 28th most efficient offense in the country. Duke was only 39th. So this is actually a step up in offensive opponent. Tennessee is only 60th in offensive efficiency. So, Tennessee obviously can beat anybody when that defense is on, but they do struggle to score at times. And I think Florida Atlantic's a dangerous underdog tonight.
Yeah, I mean, well, kind of go a little bit more into depth about FAU as a squad. I mean, they did take the game in the first round against Purdue, as everyone's been talking about since really the start of the tournament. But what is it about this FAU squad that makes them so dangerous against the high-ranking squads and more experienced squads such as the Purdue or, in this case, Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, they had a tough game against Memphis, of course, in that first round, and it really came down to the final shot. It looked like they weren't going to win that game, so they did escape there. But Memphis is also a very good team. They're currently ranked 20th right now in the Ken Palms. FAU is 21st. So those are really two evenly matched teams. Memphis not nearly as good as Tennessee defensively, but Memphis is actually higher than Florida Atlantic and Tennessee in the offensive metrics. And Florida Atlantic did a pretty good holding their own with them. It's a balanced attack. They've got a big guy down low as well that I think could give Tennessee some problems. It's going to come down, though, guys, as almost all these games do, to three-point shooting. And it's such a difficult thing to handicap in a one-and-done scenario. I mean, Florida Atlantic takes a lot of threes. They take 26 shots per game from three-point range, which is a high number. Tennessee on the season, probably the best three-point defense in the country. And I think after you've played 35 games, that's not random variance anymore. They're holding the teams to just 26.5% from three, which is really incredible. Florida Atlantic on the road this year has held teams to just 29% from three. And Tennessee also takes an above-average amount from beyond the arc. It's a new venue, obviously, tonight as well. It is Madison Square Garden, though, so it's not one of those big dome venues. It's an NBA venue, so I don't think it'll affect the sightlines. But we have seen some substantial money on the under. 133 was the opener. It's down to 129.5. And I think that makes sense with two really good three-point defenses.
Exactly, and then kind of going over to the other SEC team that's going down tonight against the one Mr. UConn. And, I mean, this one's going to be a good one, I think, because, I mean, coming off of that Kansas win for Arkansas, it's a big win for them moving forward. And now, I mean, with three SEC teams this deep into the March Madness, I mean, what does this mean for the SEC as a whole? And what are you kind of expecting out of tonight's game out of Arkansas versus Connecticut?
Well, first of all, Arkansas is the opposite of what we just talked about. As far as making threes, it's not something you have to worry about with Arkansas. They're one of the worst outside shooting teams in the country this year. They only take 16 three-pointers a game, shoot 31% from beyond the arc, only 30% away from home. Yet on the season, they've hit 47% from the field, and that's because they score down low, transition. They're very athletic. They have NBA-caliber talent, but their shooting is sporadic. And UConn allows just 30% from three-point range. So I know anything can happen in a one-and-done scenario, but it is hard to imagine that Arkansas is going to shoot well from three tonight, whereas UConn does rely heavily on the three. They take 25 threes a game, and once again, Arkansas, a very tenacious perimeter defensive team, holding teams also to just 30.5%. So, you know, here again, if Arkansas can score in transition, they could beat Connecticut in this game. The problem is UConn's a really good team, and they were vastly underseeded as a 4 seed. Right now, if you look at the KenPom rankings, Connecticut is 4th overall. Not a 4 seed, but 4th overall. That would be a 1 seed. And there are only 3 teams in the country right now that are top 15, both offense and defensive efficiencies. Connecticut is one of them. Texas and Houston are the other 2. Even Alabama, the number 1 overall seed, is not top 15 both. They're 18th offense, 3rd in defense, so they're close. But that just puts in perspective how good this Connecticut team is. Arkansas, once again, very tenacious defensively, 15th best defense, but they're only 50th on offense. So I just, in a game like this, 2 good teams, 2 athletic teams, I think Connecticut the more consistent team on both ends of the court.
Speaking on the same bracket, looking in the same Western Division, just give me your perspective on this Gonzaga-UCLA game. This is a crazy game where Gonzaga just made, in the last few seconds, makes a crazy 3 and just ends any UCLA's hopes. Is there any kind of ill will? Do you see kind of a reverse in this game?
Yeah, these are 2 teams that know each other somewhat well here. And once again, as far as the matchup goes, first of all, UCLA about a week ago was actually 2nd in the KenPoms, ahead of Alabama, who was 3rd. Now they're 3rd, Bama's 2nd. Houston's pretty much been number 1 all year in those rankings. But UCLA also very close to being a 1 seed, probably is one of the 4 best teams in the country. After Tennessee, they are the best defensive team in the country. They're 2nd right now in the defensive efficiency ratings on defense, 21st on offense, so pretty solid there. Gonzaga, though, is the best offensive team in the country. The problem is that the Zags have been much weaker on D this year. They're currently 75th in defensive efficiency, and I think that will be the difference in this game. 2 good offensive teams, but Gonzaga a inferior defensive squad. Now, the key to this game will probably be tempo, as Gonzaga plays fast. They've always played that way. They don't rely heavily on the 3. They score in transition. UCLA prefers more of a half-court set, and obviously with that really strong defense, kind of like Tennessee, they like to get teams slowed down in the half-court set. So I think you can make a case that side and total are somewhat correlated in this game. We saw the line open pick on the money has come in on UCLA minus 1.5, and the total has dropped a bit from 146 down to 145.5, and I think that makes sense. UCLA under, Gonzaga over, are somewhat correlated in this one.
And kind of moving on to the other matchup we got going down tonight, the final one, that is going to be Kansas State versus Michigan State. I mean, this one, out of all of these games, I think is going to be the closest. And I mean, at the end of the day, right now, I mean, people are kind of siding with Michigan State, but I mean, Kansas State obviously being the lower seed. What do you really see in the Michigan State team and what people are thinking about them that might give them the upper hand over the Wildcats?
Well, I think it's definitely the Izzo factor, and you keep hearing that all week long, that Izzo's been so good for decades in the tournament, just the career that he's had at Michigan State. Impressive win against Marquette as a dog. Obviously, Marquette was a good team, but I'm not sure they were necessarily a 2 seed. A lot of people did not feel like Kansas State deserved to be a 3 seed, though. So once again, it's kind of the second game in a row in which you can make an argument that Michigan State was facing a week 2 seed and facing now a week 3 seed. In fact, if you look at the KenPom rankings, Michigan State is 24th as a 7 seed. Kansas State is 22nd as a 3 seed. Michigan State has the more efficient offense. Surprisingly, though, Kansas State has the more efficient defense this year, and that probably would surprise a lot of people because you think of Michigan State as that lockdown defensive type of team, but they've actually been really good offensively this year as well. Once again, a big pace difference here, though. Kansas State plays fast, 41st fastest tempo in the country out of 363 teams. Michigan State plays at 303, but it's a little misleading because Izzo likes to try to push the ball, but if it's not there, he tells his team to pull it back, half-court reset. So if Kansas State's looking to run like they normally do, I think Michigan State might actually follow suit more than people realize. And we've seen this total go from 136.5 up to 138, even 138.5 now. So a little bit of sharp money on the over.
Yeah, it also seems like that heading it just kind of across this tournament in general, that really Big Ten guard play just really hasn't been at least up to the standard of the other conferences. And in this matchup, Marquise Noel for Kansas State is coming in, having himself a pretty dang good tournament. Could you see the guard play here between these two teams being a key factor in tonight's matchup?
It's interesting about Big Ten, obviously, because that was kind of the conference everyone thought was loaded this year. They got the most bids. They were ranked the highest. But it's also interesting, sometimes these conferences aren't as good as everyone thinks when they come in. And obviously Purdue going down as a 1 seed to a 16 seed makes you wonder. And, you look at the ACC, they were down a notch. Miami of Florida is their last team remaining tomorrow night. But, yeah, you do wonder about the Big Ten because if you look over the last 20 years or so, other than Michigan State with Izzo, when they won back-to-back at the turn of the century, the Big Ten has not done as much as other conferences in the tournament. And to see a lower seed now go off as a favorite against a 3 seed, you do wonder if it's a little recency bias built into that.
Well, what are you saying about tomorrow's game? Is our coverage is going to start pregame at 4:30, and then the game, of course, start at 5:30 of Alabama and San Diego State.
Once again, tempo here. San Diego State's a team that's always played very slow. Last year, they were in like the 267 range on tempo. This year, they come out in November and December non-conference. They play much more up-tempo. They're in the 100 ratings. Now, when the season is done, they're back down to 262. So what that tells you is that they've reverted back to the way they play. In fact, you can make an argument they played even slower in conference play this year than they did last year. Alabama's obviously a team that likes to play fast. In fact, coming into this game, they're the 5th fastest tempo team in the country. But what's so unique about Alabama is that normally fast teams like Gonzaga, who we talked about earlier, who plays fast, doesn't play as good defensively. Bama's actually better defensively this year. They're their 3rd-rated defense in the country. And once again, as I said earlier, they're only 18th on offense. But they do get a lot of rebounds, a lot of offensive rebounds, a lot of size. But that's something San Diego State does pretty well also. I think San Diego State's a live dog here, and you don't really need the outright upset. You're getting 7.5 points. Once again, if San Diego State is able to slow this game down a little bit, crash the boards, which they've done all season, should be a tight one.
Good stuff from Steve Merrill from Wager Talk Sports. And, looking at this Miami versus Houston game, I got to admit, all right, I picked Miami to win this one. And I know it's a little bit of a jump of the gun thing.
He doesn't trust Houston at all.
I don't trust Houston at all, and I just need a little bit of hope because everybody's dogging me, and I see the amount of people who are kind of rooting for this Houston Cougars team to win it. But what does Miami have that might surprise the Houston team tomorrow night?
Well, I think the biggest thing for Houston is just how healthy they are. We saw this line open 7.5. It did go down to 6.5 a couple of days ago. Now it's back to 7.5. So I think it's been jumping around a little bit about trying to guess how healthy, Sasser or the other guys are. Didn't like Houston, I thought was the best team coming in the tournament. I thought Houston and Alabama were the 2 teams to beat.
Yeah.
The betting future odds said that as well. They were both around 5-1, 7-1. Did not like how Houston looked against Northern Kentucky. They did pull away to win by 11, but never came close to covering as a 19-point favorite. They're down at the half to Auburn, as I'm sure many of the listeners and viewers know. And Auburn was looking good in that game. And then Houston did turn it on in the second half, just routed them. Ended up winning by 17, outscored them by over 20 in the second half. We'll see if that was the wake-up sign for a very good Houston team who's been solid all year, but, of course, they had that stinker earlier this year when they lost outright to Temple as a 19-point favorite. Keep in mind, Alabama beat them, but Houston did have a 14-point lead in that game. Houston plays extremely slow half-court basketball. That's something that I think could give Miami of Florida trouble. Miami likes to play fast. They're the 99th fastest team. They're in the upper third in the country this year in tempo. That's not the recipe to beat Houston. Miami is a very good offensive team, 11th offense, but they're 108 on defense, and I just don't think they have the tempo of the defense to hang in this game.
Now, kind of moving over, I feel like the matchup that's really just going under everyone's radar and that everyone's just kind of writing off is the Princeton-Creighton matchup. because is there any chance that is there anything about this Princeton squad going against number 6 ranked Creighton where they could get the upper hand and really sneak their way into the Elite Eight to play Alabama?
Supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, Princeton's obviously a good team. They were probably better than they should have been as a 15 seed. You know, we talk about, 15 seeds have won several times, but this is a team right now, if you look at the metrics, they're top 100 in the nation, adjusted offense and defensive efficiency. Now, once again, they played a weak Ivy League schedule, but keep in mind, these are adjusted efficiency numbers with that weak schedule factored in. So, they're a top 100 team on both ends of the court. And they are dangerous in any one-and-done scenario like we've seen the last couple rounds. The problem is, though, that Creighton is a very good team, and I think you can make an argument Creighton was a little underseeded in this tournament. This is the team that, first of all, the Big East has looked very good so far. Xavier advancing, even being a bit banged up. We've seen, the other teams make nice runs as well. So I do think this is a tough matchup for Princeton. And one thing that's interesting, guys, is that you look at the public sentiment. I don't do a lot with the public info and basketball in general. Of course, in the NFL, we use it heavily. But the NCAA tournament is probably the second most public bet sporting event after the NFL. And right now, Princeton is looking like a very public underdog in this game. And that's something that's always a red flag for me. So we're getting the better team in Creighton, yet the public sentiment is on Princeton. So, and I think one of the reasons is because this line is double digits at +10. But I'm not sure it's high enough. I'd be careful with this one just because the public really likes Princeton. And long term, that's usually a little bit of a red flag.
Exactly, and then moving on to the last matchup we've yet to talk about, and that's probably one of the biggest ones, is Xavier versus Texas. And I mean, this one I've been looking at for the last few days, and it's just been which team is going to, have the momentum to push forward. And obviously Texas has just had a great season, but Xavier, you can't dog them on what they've been doing either. And I mean, the public is for Texas, but at the same time, Xavier's got some heavy hitters, and I mean, it might cause them some problems. And what are some of those problems that you're thinking they might pick up that goes towards Texas?
Yeah, I mean, once again, you look at the Big East. Right now, if you look at the KenPom rankings, there are 4 teams in the top 15 in the Big East. I talked about just Creighton a minute ago. Connecticut is one. Don't forget, we talked about how good they are. And Marquette did go out last week, but they're still, we're a 2 seed. So the Big East was a very underrated conference this year, in my opinion. Xavier did have some injuries down the stretch. They did falter at times, and they did not look good against Kennesaw in that first-round game, obviously. They probably should have lost that game. They were down by 13, ended up winning by just 5 as a 12-point favorite. But really covered from start to finish against Pitt. In fact, we had a strong best bet at wagertalk.com on Xavier Sunday for my clients, as I thought it was a good spot for them, a bounce-back spot against a Pitt team that was playing their third game in 5 days. But this is a huge step up in class now against Texas, and as we talked about earlier, there are only 3 teams in the country that are top 15, both offense and defensive efficiency: Houston, UConn, and Texas, not even Alabama. That's how good this Texas team is. Really liked them against Penn State last week, and you talk about a tough beat. We have Texas minus 5.5. They were up 7 at the free throw line. They missed the front end of a 1-and-1. Penn State goes down and hits not a meaningless 3, but a long 3. But what makes it even worse is the guy fouls him, which is one of the stupidest plays in the history of basketball, not just from a point spread perspective, but just from an outright win perspective, because even after making that, you're still up 4. He gets up 3. They foul. They go down to hit both free throws this time, and Texas wins by 5 instead of 6. The line was 5.5. And keep in mind, Texas was just 1 for 13 from three-point range, and they still should have covered that game. So this is a really good Texas team, and I think we actually get some value now with them in this matchup. The one difference is Xavier, very good offensively. Both play fast, but Texas has a substantial defensive edge.
Steve, I know you got a contest going on. I was watching your video that you've had up since, I believe, Tuesday on these Sweet 16 matchups for tonight. But we're also, obviously Thom likes to do his trifectas, and he likes to have his, Final Four and everything like that. And we're doing one right now where what right now would be your reconstructed Final Four, and then what would be your winner right now if you could pick the remaining teams?
Well, the Final Fours for my initial bracket is looking pretty good still. We had Houston over Alabama in the finals, had UCLA there as well in the semis. The one that got me was Duke. That was kind of my flyer, my long
Everybody.
And when Purdue went down, in the first round of that region, Duke was the favorite to win the region after that. So it was setting up pretty well. I knew the Tennessee matchup was going to be a tough one, and I really thought whoever wins that game probably makes the Final Four. So, had Duke gotten by Tennessee, we'd be looking pretty good. That one's a little shot up, but it's probably shot for everybody as well. So once again, having Purdue go down in that bracket helps because not having that East region correct isn't going to hurt you as much because both Purdue and Marquette, the 1 and 2 seeds, are down. Kansas State's a dog, is a 3 seed. So bracket's looking pretty good still with UCLA, Houston, and Alabama. And I'll tell you right now, if you have to play someone from that East bracket, I mean, it's wide open now. Obviously, Michigan State is a 7 seed, is favored over Kansas State, but that one's a toss-up. Your guess is probably as good as mine in that one.
Well, I appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you, and like I said, thank you so much for being on with the show.
Yeah, wagertalk.com. As you mentioned, a free March Madness contest is up there right now. It's actually a Sweet 16 contest. You got to get in before the first game tips tonight. If you pick enough games right for Thursday and Friday, you can win up to a full year of my personal best bets. That's a $2,000 value for free. Nice. All you got to do is go to my page and enter before the first game tonight. Steve Merrill, wagertalk.com, and also check out Wager Talk TV on YouTube. As you mentioned, I've got the Thursday analysis up there now for the 4 games tonight. And right after this, I'm about to record the Friday edition. That'll be up later this evening. My Fade the Public Sweet 16 edition at Wager Talk TV on YouTube. And don't forget that free contest went up to a $2,000 value. Steve Merrill, wagertalk.com.
Thank you so much, Steve. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Good
always
stuff.
Yeah, always great to have Steve Merrill on. Well, we need to go to a break. When we get on the other side, we're going to have a great conversation from the boys as Alec Bussey from Rivals.com was able to join them, give us the K-State perspective on the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
With over 100 F-150s to choose from and available financing as low as 0%, now is the perfect time to put one in your driveway. It's Truck Month at Woody Anderson Ford. Hi, Bobby White back again, inviting you to come on in for the best selection of F-150s we've had in a while. And if you find one that you like, there is no payment for 90 days. Also during Truck Month, not only do you get 0% financing for up to 36 months, but we've also got 2.9% financing for 5 years on remaining 22 models with your good credit through Ford Motor Credit. This offer ends April 4th. And don't forget, we make it really easy for you to trade in and trade up on a Ford Blue Advantage Gold Certified or Blue Certified pre-owned vehicle. Great warranties, 24-hour roadside assistance, and you take it home with a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Hurry on in for Truck Month. 0% financing, no payments for 90 days, and over 100 F-150s to choose from. Woody Anderson Ford, hope to see you soon.
This is Wes Neighbors with Phillip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Phillip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Hello, welcome back, everybody, to the Afternoon Blitz here on the Tennessee Valley Blitz Sports Network. I'm the Bandyman Bailey Lowery alongside Captain Cool John Abraham. And today, again, joined by a very special guest. Kansas State is making its way into the Sweet 16 matchup against one Michigan State here this upcoming weekend, and we have none other than one Alec Bussey covering everything Kansas State, and does a fantastic job doing it. Alec, how are you doing up there, up in New York?
Yeah, so guys, I'm obviously used to the Little Apple, the Little Manhattan, but I'm actually staying with some friends in the Big Apple, the Big Manhattan. So getting used to city life and all the big buildings and everything like that. But it's been fun so far, and I'm looking forward to calling myself the New Yorker for the week.
That's awesome. And I was actually born up in New York, so I mean, I know exactly how you feel up there. But I want to kind of get into this stuff like right off the bat, okay? Because, I mean, this team has been doing some great things all throughout the season, obviously, in that highly competitive Big 12. And, I mean, now making it to the Sweet 16, I mean, outside of just the football team doing well this past season, the basketball team is now doing, extraordinary. So it's like, how do you really feel about K-State right now in their sports organizations? How proud are you?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who is on his first year on the K-State beat, it's certainly been a whirlwind of highly successful teams, and I think that K-State fans have been really appreciative of that, especially on the basketball side, just because they kind of lost a lot of hope and lost a lot of, I guess you could say, energy at the end of the Bruce Weber tenure. Just Bramlage Coliseum wasn't filling up. There was kind of an apathy towards the success that the program was having because there wasn't a huge buy-in to the people that were leading the program at that point in time, and Jerome Tang has come into K-State and done a really good job, I think, of invigorating the fan base and establishing a belief among the fans that really kind of lights a fire under them and brings a lot of passion out of them, whether it's on social media or whether it's showing up at games and making a lot of noise, or, in this case, potentially traveling to Manhattan for Madison Square Garden and to see their team play in the Sweet 16 and potentially the Elite Eight and have a chance to clinch their first Final Four berth since the 1960s.
And that's sweet to even think about. But, I mean, talking more about that community, how has really the energy in Manhattan, in Kansas, kind of built up?
Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't been there since, last week because I've been traveling so much. So I don't have a great, personal answer for you. But I can tell you when the team flew back from Greensboro, North Carolina, that's where they were at the first weekend of the tournament for the round of 64 and 32. They got back late at night on Sunday or maybe early Monday morning, and there was a massive crowd of people at the airport ready to greet them, take pictures, cheer them on, sign some autographs. All those things that I think we all kind of see in college sports and really kind of appreciate, because you don't see a lot of that in the professional sports, right? When your guys' team comes back from a big win or on the playoffs, there's not a group of people there cheering them at the airport. And I think that's something that's really special about college sports, and it's certainly something that I think Kansas State fans are really good at doing and really appreciative of, like I said, the fact that this team has invigorated a ton of energy into the program.
Alec Bussey with us, covering everything Kansas State athletics, especially basketball-wise. That's a fantastic job of covering it as well. But kind of get into the meat and potatoes of Thursday's matchup against Michigan State, because, I mean, just kind of looking at it, this looks like one of the most even matchups in the Sweet 16. I mean, kind of like a coin flip either way because of how good these two squads are. What do you see that this Kansas State squad needs to do to get that edge over Michigan State?
Yeah, so there's definitely a couple things. It's funny you ask. I just finished doing a game preview for tomorrow, so I feel like I'm really on my toes here and know exactly what I'm talking about.
All warmed up for it.
But, yeah, Michigan State's a top 10 three-point shooting team in the country, so it's going to be important for K-State to defend the three-point line. Even though Michigan State doesn't take a ton of threes, I think they're in the 300s, actually, in the ratio of threes attempted to overall field goals attempted. So that math doesn't necessarily add up that they're a really good three-point shooting team, but they don't shoot a ton of them. So it'll be important for K-State to really stick to their man and not allow opening shots from the perimeter, because Joey Hauser, Jaden Akins, Tyson Walker, those kids will kill you from beyond the arc. Willie Call can step out and hit a couple of them as well for the Spartans. And then I also think it's really important for Kansas State to really take care of the ball. This is a Michigan State team that doesn't force very many turnovers during the 300s and turnovers forced this season nationally, but at the same time, Kansas State's a team that has been turnover-prone for much of the year. Marquise Noel, for as great as he has been this season, he's averaging over 3.5 turnovers a game, was over 4 turnovers a game in Big 12 play. And when he turns the ball over and the entire team turns the ball over, they tend to really struggle. So it's important for them to stay under their personal mark of 11 turnovers. I think they're undefeated or only have 1 or 2 losses this season when they've had less than 11 turnovers in a game. So if they can keep their turnovers down, defend the three-point line, I actually really like Kansas State in this matchup because there's certainly some favorable matchups that they can take advantage of when they're on the offensive end with guys like Keontae Johnson, who's a real big physical athlete. Michigan State doesn't have a great matchup for him.
Yeah, and kind of looking at Michigan State, they are the only Big Ten opponent in the tournament still at this time. They were joined with 8 others coming into the tournament. Those kind of fell off in the first 2 rounds. So, I mean, Michigan State's got to have something going for them, right? I mean, they're just going to be a competitor that's going to be there to play. I mean, they want to be the best team without an argument in their conference. So kind of speak, though, on the rest of the Big Ten. What has the struggles really been? Why have they had so much struggles kind of going into these bigger situations?
Yeah, so by trade, I'm actually a Big Ten person. I graduated from the University of Illinois in May of 2022. Grew up watching more Big Ten basketball than any other college conference. And I've started to really kind of dive into some of this and absorb more discourse and dialogue about it and reading about it. And I've started to come to the conclusion that I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of Big Ten teams built their rosters to win the Big Ten and maybe not have success in the NCAA tournament. And you look at Purdue, obviously they get bounced by a 16 seed. Everyone knows that. And then Indiana, another team that I think had really high hopes entering the season. They were top 15, I believe, in the preseason poll. They lose to a quality Miami team who has good guard play. Overall, the Big Ten just lacks guard play, and it's a conference that's based, I think, a lot in the success and the maturation of centers and bigs. And as we've seen over the last 2-3 tournaments, those players, those dominant centers, they don't have a ton of success in the NCAA tournament from a team perspective. Oscar Tshiebwe down at Kentucky, he's played in 3 NCAA tournament games for UK, and they lost 2 of them. Zach Edey obviously made it to the Sweet 16 last year for Purdue, but they lose to a 15 seed in St. Peter's. Kofi Coburn, a 2-time All-American, played in, I guess, 4 NCAA tournament games at Illinois and lost 2 of them. Lost to Loyola Chicago, and in a 1-8-9 game in the second round, and then lost to a 5-seeded Houston team in the round of 32 last year. Hunter Dickinson this year at Michigan didn't even make it. Armando Bacot at North Carolina this year, they didn't even make it. So there's certainly a trend here, I think, where basketball is really modernizing to I don't want to say positionless because I think that term gets thrown around a lot. A more skilled game where it's important to have 5 guys on the court who can all handle the basketball, can all pass, can all make at least some sort of shot that's more than 5 feet away from the rim, can guard multiple positions on the defensive side. And I think it's really easy to take advantage of bigs on the defensive side when they can't guard a ball screen. They can't guard in the pick and roll, and that's something that Kentucky greatly struggled in this season. They were in the bottom 20th percentile, and that, according to Synergy, I think, this season. And Kansas State really exposed that, and I know Kentucky's in the SEC, but you're getting the point here of the Big Ten is a conference that's made up of a lot of really talented, really bigs that can dominate games, but it's easy to take them out of games when you get to the NCAA tournament and guard play becomes really, really key, and there's not a lot of high-level guards in the Big Ten.
Right. I mean, you kind of really notice that. I mean, I kind of noticed that really with the UCLA Northwestern game, and that's really just how UCLA was really staying ahead. I mean, their guard play was just consistently keeping them in the lead, even though they got outscored in the second half. I mean, I think it was maybe once at most they lost the lead during that game, if I remember correctly.
But that wasn't a game I was able to watch, unfortunately.
Totally fine.
But
I can't get all.
But I mean, you're on the right path there. I mean, Tiger Campbell is one of the country's best guards, and I mean, I would argue that Northwestern had one of the better backcourts in the Big Ten, if not the best, with Boo Buie and Chase Adij. But those were 2 kids who kind of had struggled before the season throughout their entire career, and I think their experience really kind of came through for them this season at Northwestern, and that really helped Northwestern get to their second NCAA tournament was the improved play of those 2 kids.
Good stuff from Alec Bussey, who covers Kansas State athletics, basketball, football, you name it. And now getting on to the my final question personally, because we know you're a busy man. You want to experience a little bit in New York right now. Your team's up there doing great things. But one of the guys I really wanted to look at, because he's got a really inspirational story, is Keontae Johnson. And 2 years ago, I mean, this kid was playing for the Florida Gators, and he collapsed on the court and went into a coma. And kind of just talk about his comeback and how influential he has been to the next generations of basketball players, as well as just all of basketball in a whole.
Yeah, certainly his story is moving, I guess you could say, for a lot of people, to be able to come back from what he came back from and turning down a $5 million insurance policy after the heart condition that led him collapsing on the floor at Florida State is something that, it says a lot about the belief that he had in himself to be able to get back, despite what maybe some of what the early diagnosis was from different people. So it's really cool to see him kind of come back and be K-State's leading scorer. A team that we all know is a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament was one of the biggest surprises, I guess you could say, of the entire college basketball season, being picked to finish in last place in the league and then ending up finishing 3rd or 4th in the Big 12 and earning a number 3 seed and now playing in the Sweet 16. It's an awesome story. He's a great kid. I have no bad stories to say about Keontae Johnson. He's very appreciative of everything that he has. He's always saying thank you. He's always saying, I appreciate it. Just different things like that. He's a great kid, and I think he was a great first superstar, I guess you can kind of say, for K-State. He's a 3rd-team All-American, along with Marquise Noel, and those two have come together to play one of the best two-man games in all of college basketball this season.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, it's been an absolute joy watching those two play. Not even just in March Madness, but throughout the regular season as well. But kind of my final question to you, because after you go out to MSG and take in New York as a whole, I just kind of want to get your take on some of these coaching hires that have been going around the college basketball world. I mean, we got Rick Pitino going to Iona. We have the Farley Dickinson coach taking his spot at St. John's after just 1 year there, and then taking him all the way to the NCAA tournament and beating a 1 seed. I mean, just kind of how do you think these coaching hires might shape the way of college basketball, potentially March Madness in the future, when we could see some of these teams back in this tournament?
Well, let's hope Dave Portnoy doesn't hear my answer here and get into a Twitter feud with me like he did Jeff Goodman. No, I think that the coaching carousel has definitely been a lot of fun to follow so far. Obviously, Ed Cooley leaving Providence to go to Georgetown was the one that started the Twitter fight between Portnoy and Goodman. And I think that move is, in my opinion, like Ed Cooley has a reason to leave, right? Like he's a coach. If he wants to go take another job, like he can. It just so happens to be that the job he's taking is within the conference and they're between rivals. And I get the frustration that Providence fans have, but from an objective standpoint, someone who's not connected to either one of those programs on any view, like I think it's a very good hire. Even if Georgetown doesn't turn into John Thompson, Georgetown, it's okay because it's a good hire, and I think it elevates the program. And where Georgetown's been the last 3-4 years is, quite frankly, unacceptable. And what Patrick Ewing did there was really, really bad. So that's unfortunate. I think the Rick Pitino hire at St. John's is awesome. Like, it brings a lot of juice back to the Big East, a conference that I feel like a lot of people have a deep connection to, considering the history of the conference. And Rick Pitino is New York City. Like, when I think of Rick Pitino, when I think of basketball, I think of the Big East and New York, and he just fits this job, I feel like. And it's kind of funny, like I'm out here this week as Rick Pitino gets hired, and I saw he was on the back page, I think, of the New York Post, and it's like, all right, when was the last time St. John's basketball was in the New York Post? Like, they've been terrible for, my entire life. So I guess they were probably on the back page or on the front page where they hired Chris Mullins. And that one didn't go very well because I don't think they made one NCAA tournament. But, I think the hires in the Big East have definitely created a lot of drama, which is something that I think my parents, particularly my dad, probably enjoyed when he was a kid, and now it's something that, me in my 20s, I'll be able to experience and enjoy a lot too, because I think the Big East is setting up to be one of the best conferences in the country. It was right up there this year with the Big 12. Top half was awesome. And I think that St. John's is going to be pretty good. I think that Providence is going to find a head coach that'll kind of steady things and keep things going in a positive direction. I think Georgetown's going to be resurrected, and it'll make things a lot of fun up in the Northeast and the Big East.
Alec Bussey has been our guest, lead reporter and recruiting analyst for EMAW Online. Alec, thank you so much for joining us here and fitting us around your very busy schedule up there in New York.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. If you know any good pizza recommendations, make sure to let me know.
Oh, it's been a minute. I haven't been in New York City at all in my life. I just lived in Rochester when I was, very young.
Hey, you're going.
I hear Sbarro's pretty good, so maybe I'll try Sbarro.
Maybe in New York it's good. Maybe in New York.
Down here in Alabama, maybe not so much. But either way, I mean, it's your first year with the squad. Just like you said, we had our first year with Buckhorn basketball. They went on to win a state championship. So, hey, maybe your first year with the squad, you're the good luck charm to them, just like we were with Buckhorn.
Exactly.
Hey, that'd make a lot of K-State fans happy, I'm sure.
We'll be rooting for them, but go enjoy the time and go enjoy the game. We look forward to talking with you later on about it.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Thank
you. You too.
Good stuff from Alec Bussey, who does just a wonderful job of covering everything at Kansas State Athletics. But we're going to hop into a break, guys. Don't go anywhere because there's more fun to come in the next hour. You're sticking with us here on the Afternoon Blitz.
Love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortandSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Wall Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This is a big day for the Lakers. LeBron James will have his foot tendon injury reevaluated. The expectation is that even if the imaging shows improvement, he won't be cleared to play. The hope for the team is that James will be cleared to ramp up his activity. That leaves the window open for his return to the floor in time for whatever the postseason the Lakers have, or perhaps near the very end of the regular season. LA currently in the play-in, tied for 9th in the West with Dallas, is a game and a half out of 6th in the conference and an automatic playoff spot. 76ers center Joel Embiid dealing with a mild right calf issue. Coach Doc Rivers says there's not much concern about the calf, though, and Embiid should be ready to play tomorrow against the Warriors. Providence has finalized a deal to make George Mason's Kim English the Friars' next basketball coach, according to ESPN's Jeff Borzello. English will get a 6-year contract.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Check out VSiN's catalog of original podcasts, daily and weekly programming to keep you in the know when you're on the go. Only at VSIN.com. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Major League Baseball opening day scheduled for March the 30th. All the teams set to be in action. Heading into the season, the favorite to win the World Series is the defending champion Astros, plus 600. The Yankees, plus 850. Same for the Dodgers. The Mets, plus 900 to win it all. Atlanta and San Diego, plus 1,000. Early MVP odds in the National League, Juan Soto, plus 550. Mookie Betts, plus 950. Ronald Acuna Jr., plus 1,000. In the American League, Shohei Ohtani, plus 220. Aaron Judge, plus 700. Mike Trout, plus 800. Julio Rodriguez, plus 900. Yordan Alvarez, plus 1,200. Get the latest lines and more at vsin.com.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon. Looks like it's going to be a fantastic Thursday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s. Some of us making a pretty solid run at 80 degrees. Only dropping into the upper 50s and lower 60s as we head into the overnight, early into your Friday morning. Cloud cover steadily going to increase through Friday afternoon. Temperatures climbing once again into the mid and upper 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Online at 977ESPN.com.
Stream them online.
Call in.
It's an important job, and it's an vital organization.
Tweet in and join in. We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You need to be more like a dog.
Like what you guys are doing. You've got your fingertip on the pulse of your listeners. You guys know what they're talking about.
Be a dog.
God bless the show. You are the Messiah.
We need more dogs.
This is the best show on radio.
The big dog, Thom Abraham, is here with you.
Hey, I see you. I see you, dog.
So settle in and get your bark on.
That's my dog.
Now live. Here he is, the big dog.
Let's go, baby.
Thom Abraham.
How you doing? 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 Look, I don't speak Spanish.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho.
Do you know who I am?
I mean, that guy sounds like El McPherson farting into Miles Davis' trumpet.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond? Get off my lawn.
I have to drag my Yankee ass out of here.
Hour number 2, live with you guys here on the Thom Abraham Show. It's the little dog here, John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandyman Bailey Lowery, as well as the Chad Gwathney.
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing? And I want to answer a question real quick. I mean, we've been having a lot of fun, obviously, talking with Steve Merrill from Wager Talk Sports, as well as Alec Bussey from Rivals.com. But I mean, we got a comment. Okay, Kramer. First off, I want to say I'm glad you can see me in the first place. I wanted to move over a little bit more to the left on WZZN TV. Make sure you guys are watching it there if you're not driving. And what my hair is doing right now is it's trying to make the transition from blonde back to dark hair boy. Okay, I want to go back to being an Italian from the deep south of Italy. Okay, I don't want to be any of this northern Italian right now. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm not going to get it dyed back blonde or back black. I'm going to let it slowly grow out until I have the Justin Timberlake tips, and then I'm gonna get the sides shaved to where they are black on the sides, blonde on the top. And it's going to slowly transition into something beautiful, like planting something outside in the garden or something like that. But it's been a great show as of right now. I got to admit, guys, we gotten into the bracket talk, we gotten into Kansas State, a little bit more in depth on them. But now, I mean, it's time to get into a little bit more. Obviously, I kind of want to delve into some of the pickups that's been going down in the NFL, because a lot of them obviously have been, these we look past them because a lot of them are the backup quarterback pickups or like the backup running back pickups and just like stuff to help out the defenses and all this. But I wanted to look at this one because, I mean, right now teams are able to really just multiply their stock going into this year, because we see teams that are picking up these guys that, you may have saw as like third strings on other teams, but could definitely easily be, first string on another. And one of them I want to talk about is Dearness Johnson. And he played on the Browns, and he was the third string behind two really good running backs, Kareem Hunt as well as Nick Chubb. I mean, you can't really, you can't put this guy before those guys, because, I mean, what they've done has just been insane throughout their careers. But, I mean, now that Dearness Johnson has a little bit of an easier time transitioning to the Jaguars, we see him, I mean, he's got ETN to help him out. It's going to be a little 1-2 hit with him. And, I mean, if you look back at what this guy's done in the past with the Cleveland Browns back in 2021, his 2 starts that he had, this guy was over 100 yards rushing. It's almost like they used Dearness Johnson way more than they would have Nick Chubb, because Nick Chubb, he's hardly getting 20 attempts, okay? D'Ernest Johnson, on the other hand, he's getting well over 20 attempts, and this guy's putting up some insane yards. I mean, against the Bengals back in, I believe, January of 2021, the guy had 123 yards on 25 attempts, and then he trickled through. He was able to get a few attempts throughout the season, but then the next chance he got to start was against the Denver Broncos, which, as you guys know, they've had a spectacular defense for a long time, and this is back when we had an actual really good Denver Broncos defense. And, I mean, he was able to put 146 yards up on them on 20 attempts. So it's even less. And then you put him on a Jaguars team where you're going against teams that, they have good defenses. We're looking at the Titans. We're looking at the Texans. And the Texans, that's pretty much all they have going for them. And going into, 2023 season, they're going to have a lot more help on that side. But, I mean, this guy's going to have an absolute field day beside ETN, because it's like you have that perfect 1-2 punch. ETN's the speedy back, whereas D'Ernest Johnson's the guy he'll fight for yardage. And I think it's a great pickup by them. And I mean, there's plenty of other, pickups that we could talk about, but this is the one that intrigues me the most because it's these late pickups that are going to help out these teams the most going into 2023.
It intrigues me because when I look at their depth chart on the Jaguars, I see 6 running backs. I see him listed as the 3rd running back. I see my boy, being a Falcons fan, Quadri Allison being that 5th, 6th guy. And then they got Snoop Connor, who they drafted in the 5th round. So I wonder what. And you got Jermichael Hasty, who is in front of him. So I wonder if this is just, maybe it's just looking to the future, because I feel like this is kind of like a situation where I wish the Falcons may have done something like this, where literally it's like you give a guy like a Devontae Freeman who has a great year. ATN has a great year, right? Mm-hmm. But as much as we value running backs, it's just like I would rather have quantity like the Falcons do now than comparable to having 2 guys or 1 guy who, has his best seasons and then after that it's nothing after that. It's kind of what worries me a little bit about Derrick Henry. If anyone I mean, anywhere he goes, he's going to be better. But I hope it's a title contending team that he goes to, because it's just like I hope it's just not like, all right, well, we really need this depth right here, so we're just gonna give him more money. I hope it's like worth the Titans and it's worth what he wants to do and win, something like that. I don't.
Could you make that same kind of case for one Lamar Jackson?
I mean, with Lamar Jackson, you're not gonna have obviously, it's not like a Cam Newton situation where it's like literally he thinks that 32 of these, these guys are better than him. Quarterbacks are better than him. Quarterbacks are better than him. And Lamar Jackson's an MVP caliber quarterback. We obviously know that. Yeah. But he's also been a quarterback that we've seen before has been injury prone, obviously, this season. Mm-hmm. And it's not been good for running quarterbacks. Name a really good running quarterback that's ever just done anything to really. You know what I mean? Well, isn't like a pass heavy first. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying there. And it's like, people are probably listening like, oh, well, running quarterbacks are the big thing right now. But if you just have a running quarterback on your team, you're going to end up like the Chicago Bears, where you have a really good running quarterback, but your team still only has 3 wins on the end of the season.
And the crazy thing about the Chicago Bears, they saw something.
Yeah.
They don't see Justin Fields as being the future. If you tell me right now that he is the future, they're just keeping him there because of all the other picks that they got and obtained from the Panthers to be able to you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For just that one pick.
Yeah. I get what you're saying there, but I mean, I think Justin Fields has a place on that roster. I think he is going to be, a good running back quarterback when it comes down to it. I mean, he's the yards he was able to pick up last season in 3 to 4 of his games were just out of this world, something we haven't even seen before. But I mean, that side of the quarterback is a very rare trait to get, an actually good running quarterback. I mean, you get the Josh Allens who can throw the ball and run slightly. I get that Josh Allen had the most rushing yards on that team for a majority of those games, but they had nobody in the backfield to run the ball in the first place. It's kind of the same for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. It was Lamar Jackson's job to do the running, and then even on the Bears, who do they have? They had Montgomery, who's not on the team anymore because he's injury prone even more than Lamar Jackson, to where he's great when he's on the field, but if he's not on the field, it doesn't matter because you got a Justin Fields that is running for 100+ yards in each of his games.
Well, it's like when we're looking at you can blame Patrick Mahomes, you can blame the Josh Allens of the world. That's the reason why we're looking at these quarterbacks that are in the draft right now, and we're not looking at the guys that have performed amazing in college football. We're just looking at the guys that are literally massive and can run fast. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally
like Tim Tebow's, Anthony Richardson.
We're not looking at them being able to kind of like break down a defense and able to like be able to read a defense and able to take over an offense in the NFL. And it's just kind of crazy. I'm obviously not a talent evaluator. I'm not obviously a GM in the NFL because I don't have tons of money and I don't get paid that job. So it's just crazy to kind of break that down.
Yeah, and like what he was saying, I mean, look, okay, I'm not going to agree with 100% of what he said, okay?
Okay.
I think these quarterbacks that are coming from the draft, I think, yes, they have the running abilities, but I think they still have the abilities to lead. Now, if you're looking at an Anthony Richardson when you're trying to get a guy that's, based off of mainly his size and, his running abilities, that's a different story because, he could throw in the combine where, there's not that much going down, okay, where there's not a lot of people, in his face or there's not a guy on the wide receiver that he's throwing to. If he doesn't have that pressure, he's going to be able to chuck the ball downfield. And you know what? Those mid passes that kind of have been a question for him, he's been getting better at them, and I think he'll, finally get to the point where he can be a consistently accurate quarterback at the mid-range passes. But if you're just going to, base that first pick off of Anthony Richardson's size, I don't think that's the way to go because when it comes down to the knowledge of the game and all that stuff, it's going to go to a Bryce Young. It's going to go to a CJ Stroud where they know how it feels to win those big games and move forward. Whereas Anthony Richardson, he may have the size, he may have the abilities, but he does not know how it is to play on a team that goes very far into the college playoffs year in and year out, as well as, a Heisman Trophy if we're looking at the Bryce Youngs of the world.
Yeah, it's like if he goes in as he is right now, he's going to face the same problem that former Florida quarterback himself, Tebow, faced when he got into the league. Yeah. All the people that he used to be bigger than and be able to power through on the run game are now either the same size or are way bigger than he is.
Yeah, and we're going to be going down
you can't power through people like that.
Exactly. Not in the NFL. That's another thing that, these quarterbacks from college are going to be learning when they go to the NFL. And that's the biggest question about Bryce Young is he going to be able to have the size that these NFL players have? Is he going to have the speed to get away from some of these defensive linemen? Because these guys are a lot quicker in the NFL if you compare it to college play, okay? But with Anthony Richardson, it really is a question of, is he going to go down that same route as one Mr. Tim Tebow in the way that he looks like a really good quarterback coming out, but then when he's in the league for a few years, he might have a little bit of success starting out, but then it's probably going to trickle down. The players are going to figure out what this quarterback's got to offer, and then he's going to maybe slightly turn into a tight end and then not really be able to revive his career at that point. I don't know. It's just some speculations that are going into it, but they're interesting speculations to say the least.
Well, we got a lot of stuff going on. You got Alabama Pro Day, obviously. You got Bryce Young is obviously the main line. But how about DJ Fluker trying to make an appearance? And we've got Cam Newton over here trying to throw 50-yard bombs, as people are trying to label him.
Slade Bolden trying to make his way back onto a team.
Hey, Slade Bolden just making a team would be pretty cool. That would be pretty sweet if he could just end up just making some kind of roster as a scout teamer or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, with all the pro days going on, you got. I think when we see after today, when we see, basically we'll get a better idea of everything. And I think that when we look at going forward, it's not always about the size and the stature of a quarterback or whatever. I mean, we always talk about yesterday we were talking about how linebackers, for instance, are we used to be a certain type of recruit when it came into Alabama.
They used to be gigantic.
Yeah, it's like now you got guys that are 6'2". It's like that's the reason why the Falcons they drafted Deion Jones is because that's how the offenses have kind of evolved where it's just it's a lot faster. You need the side to side fast linebacker. You don't need the big bruiser anymore because it's your offenses are going away, and that, like I said, how much we value running backs. So it's I can see why it's the Jaguars are trying to make the moves that they're trying to make. So
I know. And it's weird because we saw the older Alabama teams. I mean, still now they have the size, but they're trying to get towards that Pac-12 style of play where it's a bunch of smaller, skinny, super fast players that will get those. The offenses will be spectacular, but on the other hand, the defenses will start lacking, and that's what we've been seeing in recent years in college football. These high-scoring games, it is almost like high school basketball how much these teams score. Okay, it's like 68 to like 43 or something like that, just a random score thrown out there. But it's like that's what it's turning to, and it's sad to see that they're kind of neglecting the defenses to go to a faster style of play. But now we see even in the NFL that we're going to go into that. I mean, the Kyler Murrays of the world, 5'10", going in, and now he's a speedy quarterback. But back in like the 80s, back in the 90s, that's not going to fly at all. You need those big-sized quarterbacks like the Anthony Richardsons, like the Tim Tebows and all that stuff. And although they probably wouldn't have been able to make it back in the 70s, there's other quarterbacks that still have those attributes, the size and all that stuff, that definitely did do it back in the day and, would probably be a great choice in today's world. But it's just not the type of play that the NFL is going towards now. And, I don't know if it's sad. I don't know if, I should be happy about it. It's going to be entertaining, though.
Well, moving on from the NFL, going back to a lot of the Sweet 16 action, Bleacher Report came out with how we talk about power rankings, and I am not the biggest fan of like NFL power rankings, MLB power rankings, whatever, when it's early in the season. But we're here in the Sweet 16, we're late in the season, and the power rankings come out, and of course, as your number one team, according to Bleacher Report, would be the Alabama Crimson Tide, with Houston Cougars coming in at second, Connecticut at third, Texas at fourth, and UCLA at fifth. What are your thoughts on this, and what are your thoughts on just who do you think is the if you looking at break down your Final Four if you had to reconstruct it right now? I mean, give me what you think right now.
Okay, well, I've actually got my bracket pulled up.
Well, I mean, Mr. Second Place, we already know Mr. Second Place.
I know,
you're
I'm
already
already ready, but at the same time, Alabama, of course. I mean, I've got Alabama, Houston still as my final.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that's going to be the way it shapes out. But again, the other two regions, I thought it was going to be Marquette and Kansas originally, but now I'm feeling Kansas State taking it over Tennessee in that Elite Eight matchup, moving on to the Final Four against Alabama, and then UCLA on the other side over UConn. Like, I think here is where Arkansas stops against UConn, and then UCLA makes it all the way because, again, their defense has been outstanding this entire tournament.
Yeah. Looking at mine, I mean, I'm similar with Bandy. I mean, obviously, I'm way back in the 97.7 bracket challenge, but I still have three teams that are going to be, that are free game to go to the Final Four. And although Marquette kind of, crapped the bed, it's fine because we got, two other great teams that I think are going to make it. I think Tennessee has a really good shot if they are able to overcome FAU and then play up against who I think is going to be Kansas State in this upcoming matchup. I think Kansas State will get the upper hand and move forward, lose to Alabama, and then on the other side, I got Texas and UConn going at it. And that's the region I've had the best luck at, was the Midwest and the West. I've had that side locked down. I've lost a few teams along the way, but I think UConn is a spectacular team, and I think they're even going to get the upper hand over Texas and move on to play Alabama in the final or the championship game.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with what I had originally, and then I picked Duke just like everybody else did.
Yeah.
Where I literally had Tennessee in the Final Four, and I'm like, I'm not going to put both SEC schools, you know what I mean, playing each other.
Possible, though.
I know.
Now it is.
It was kind of like Duke and North Carolina, right? I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, it looks good on paper and you want to do it, but then you have like second thoughts and you switch back. But, I mean, I would still pick Alabama, Tennessee, and then if I had to look, in the West and the Midwest, if I had to pick, because I had, I had Kansas winning. So I know, right?
Yep. I'm right there with you, pal.
So if I had to pick from the remaining schools, I would definitely probably pick Gonzaga out of all of them. UCLA scares me. And then I really didn't have any faith in Miami. That shows you how much I don't know about college basketball. But literally, I have Xavier.
Don't get me started on Miami.
I still have Xavier alive, and so I have Bama, Xavier, and that's it. But still, it was, losing Kansas, and I think I had Duke. So yeah, it was just, of course, the blue bloods of college basketball are the ones that can't get through. So
That the Midwest region, though, I mean,
Xavier.
That's been the side I've had a lot of the success. I mean, we had Pittsburgh moving on. I had Xavier moving on. Then I had Xavier over Pittsburgh moving on against Texas, which I did have Penn State losing to Texas A&M in that first round, but it didn't really matter because Penn State lost in the second round. But I mean, going forward, I mean, you look at that Houston-Miami game, and I will say it every single time. Okay, I feel like I'm the only person in America that does not believe in this Houston team because if you look back on the region that they played against,
going for them.
It's just not been the greatest. I mean, they've had a very easy path to this point, and now it's just like I think their time might be up, and I think they're going to be surprised by the Miami Hurricanes going into this Elite Eight matchup. And I personally can't wait to see what's going to happen in this. I think they're going to win, and if I'm the only one that thinks that, that's great. I'll be one in 8 billion in the whole world that thinks that Miami's going to get the dub.
All right.
Well, make sure tomorrow that you tune in for Alabama and San Diego State at 4:30 pregame coverage. 5:30 is the game live. We'll have it on here on the radio station. We'll have a lot of stuff going on. We've got UAH softball. We got UAH baseball this weekend. We got a lot of stuff. Tom will be back tomorrow as well on the Thom Abraham Show. Of course, he is down in Knoxville, Tennessee for his Bassmaster engagement. And so right now, I know we've been talking so much basketball, so why don't we talk more basketball?
Nice.
As like
But
I
with
said
a
before,
twist.
with a twist. I mean, literally a program, two programs that we don't talk about enough that have done amazing. The women's wheelchair basketball team for Alabama has won 4 straight national titles. They were able to host the national title game on their home court. The men have won the last 2 out of 3 years.
That's crazy.
It's just a great job to have them on, and what better way to kind of showcase them and showcase a lot of their talented athletes than to have them on right now. And Drew Diarman and I were able to have a conversation with them, and we're going to play that when we come back from this break on the Thom Abraham Show. It'll be head coach of the men's, Ford Bertram, and head coach of the women's, Ryan Haynes, right here on Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
One of the best-kept golf secrets in the Tennessee Valley is Cherokee Ridge. Cherokee Ridge truly offers golf at a higher level with immaculate greens set against a spectacular Appalachian backdrop. This 18-hole championship course takes every advantage of rolling hills, whispering woods, lakes, and streams. Interested in becoming a member? Their membership plans feature affordable options for couples, families, and individuals. Book your tee time today, 256-841-4551. Cherokee Ridge. Championship quality, affordable prices.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now, and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you, so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
16 teams remaining.
And Bama is going to the Sweet 16.
4 games to win.
JQ stepping back, deep three, bottom, that away JQ.
Join us Friday, live from KFC Yum Center in Louisville. It's Alabama and San Diego State.
On the drive, the lob, Beniacco taps it in. Beautiful move, Charles Beniacco.
Our coverage begins at 4:30 on your home for Alabama basketball. The Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Thom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
Welcome back to the Thom Abraham Show. This is Chad Gwathney filling in for the big dog. I have Drew DeArmond from Talkin' Ball in with me as well, as we get a special guest with us today. The Alabama men's wheelchair basketball head coach Ford Bertram, national championship winning head coach, is with us, and he's joined us today. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Coach, it's a pleasure for you to join us. First of all, congratulations on the national championship. In any sport, it's very difficult to win a title, but certainly congrats to your program. I believe it's the fourth in the history of the men's program, and the men's program has been around since 2006 and relatively still new in its existence. But great job by your players defeating the number 1 seed Arizona in the championship game.
Well, thank you very much. It is very, very humbling to think about the success our boys had and the hard work they put in. So we're very grateful.
No question about it. And Coach, for our listeners, kind of take us in behind the curtain, because in the adapted athletics world, Alabama has kind of led the way. I mean, I'm just marveling at the money and the resources that they've been able to give your programs. But of course, the women's program has now won 9, including 4 in a row. They've been they're on an amazing run themselves. But the future is bright too. I know that tennis has won national championships. There's track that's going to be added. In the adapted athletics world, Alabama, the University of Alabama, has really led the way.
Yeah, we're in the forefront of all of it, and we're by no means where we want to be. We're more of a starting point. So. In Title Town, it's hard to get recognition unless you win titles. So we've put together a really good program. Our athletic director, Dr. Brent Harden, and assistant athletic director, Dr. Margaret Strand, have done a really great job of making sure they're going about things the right way, adding sports slowly, and making sure we get them to championship caliber athletes and programs before we add the next ones.
No question. And Coach, I mean, talk about this group. I know it had been I think I want to say 3 years since you'd won a championship. They're not easy to win in any sport. I mean, sometimes I think with what Nick Saban has accomplished in his remarkable run, and now it will be his 17th season, sometimes fans take it for granted. But I always tell people to treasure every moment, because I know Coach Murphy did it in softball in 2012. We've seen that. But it's very, very difficult to win national championships. And talk about the journey for your squad and winning this one this year, and what was special about it.
Well, the journey for this squad really started when COVID hit. That national championship was taken away from us, the opportunity to play in that championship. And the next year with COVID, we finished second. We lost in the finals by 14. And then last year we lost in the final by 9. So it wasn't just a one-year journey for this crew. We added some parts along the way, and they all got on board. And the boys themselves called it the Revenge Tour. They didn't like finishing the season second, and I don't blame them. So they really put in all the hard work over the summer, came together early in the year, started having talks about how to be a better team and how to really support each other when things got tough, as opposed to imploding and kind of yelling at each other. And so it's been a maturity throughout the group and throughout the last 3 years to be able to take advantage of the opportunity that was presented when we made it to the national championship game last Saturday.
Coach Chad Gwathney here with you. What do you see different when you were a player at Alabama compared to what you have on your roster today?
Well, so when I was a player, we were just getting the program started, so we've come a long way since then. We've got our own facilities now, and we've got, all that goes with it. We've got a strength and conditioning coach and AT full-time who's in charge of our sports medicine, strength and conditioning coach. We've got somebody who does all our social media and networking stuff, and then we've got somebody who programs all our events. Plus, we got a full-time men's head coach and assistant coach, and the same for the women. And so the program has really grown in leaps and bounds, and we've tightened some things up. Academics are very important to us. We had 10 academic All-Americans this year on the men's side, which is pretty astounding for the 11 that qualify for that. Freshmen do not qualify for academic All-Americans, so we had 10 of the 11. And our other guy is not a slouch. He's got a 3.0. You got to be a little bit higher to be an academic All-American. So I'm really super proud of the way in which these young men handle themselves, both in the classroom, off the court, and basketball-wise. They are a great group of young men.
How much has this changed the sport with the impact of social media and NIL within Alabama Adaptive Sports?
It's changed the sport some. We don't get big deals NIL like our able-bodied counterparts, but it's changed, just the landscape and the ability for our kids to get their names out there and to get some recognition for being the incredible student athletes that they are.
And certainly they are, Coach. And this is Drew DeArmond. It's great to be with you and talk about the adaptive athletics program. We have an avid listener, Brandon Pilcher, who has alerted us at how what a high level these programs were performing at, and it's great to be able to shine a light on it and let everybody know that that there's another. And this is in what I was reading is in studying up on is. This program that you guys have, the adaptive program, is completely separate from the NCAA, completely separate from the University of Alabama. It's part of it, but you guys you operate in your own as your own entity, and what you guys are doing pretty much at every level is pretty astounding.
Well, thank you very much. We're definitely part of the university. We started in the College of Education,
right,
and that's where we're housed. We're not part of the athletics department, so that's kind of a surprise to most people when they hear that we go out and we raise our own funds, and the university helps us, and we've got full support from our president and his wife, Susan Bell. She is on our board of trustees, and then our dean, Peter Leibowitz, for the College of Education, also super supportive, and his wife as well. They come to all our events, and so we've got the support of the university behind us. We're just not part of athletics, and what we do is impressive, yes, but I think that more so it's humbling to realize that this group has come such a long way, and the adaptive athletics world is still, venturing out and trying to have an effect on the way in which people see people with disabilities. And it's not just inspirational because, a lot of people say because of your disability, blah, 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 but that's not the inspiration. The inspiration here is that these kids are athletes, and the inspiration should be that they work their tail off both in the classroom and on the court to be athletes and to be recognized as great athletes. And they're certainly making a name for themselves.
Coach, you were able to be the head coach for the USA U23 team, under 23 team. How was that? And just speak on what it's like to be able to participate in an event like that.
Man, to represent your country is overwhelming sometimes, and so to be able to represent USA was a fabulous thing, and I got to pick a crew from all over the country and go to Thailand to represent USA in a world championships. And we came up a little bit short, but we sure fought, man. And those boys all represented our country very well, and I was really proud of the way in which they did it. It was definitely an eye-opening experience, to say the least, to see what the rest of the world kind of looks like and where we're at in America, and to also see how different countries play the game. You know, it's very, international basketball is very different than USA basketball, and watching the way in which they play the game is very different, and studying and trying to put that into practice here. So we still get to compete and compete at a very high level internationally too. Is it's an honor to be part of it.
And Coach, how big up was it for your programs, especially both the men's and the women's basketball, and then the adapted athletics program as a whole, for Dr. Harden to raise the funds to build that $10 million facility that houses all your programs since 2017? How big a step was that for Alabama Adapted Athletics?
Man, so I still remember when we were in the cage in the rec center, and every time I roll into the arena, I'm humbled, man. I'm taken back by it all, and this year was the first group that we had that never spent any time in the rec center, so they don't know how good they've got it. And I think it really sets the bar and sets the standard for how adaptive athletes should be treated. And of course, the University of Alabama is leading the way with that, and it is an impressive place, and to fill it with impressive young men and young women and watch them do their thing on a daily basis is pretty awesome.
What is it different as a coach to be able to coach wheelchair basketball? Because we obviously know it is way more physical than the real game of basketball has turned into today. But it's just like when you watch it, it looks like you're just going at it, and guys are just getting right back up, falling to the floor, and just being resilient. Just speak on being able to be an athlete like that.
Well, so it requires a lot of work, not just with the basketball skills like passing and shooting and dribbling and movement, but it's a lot of chair skills is what we call it. So it's developing your eye-hand coordination to not only move a chair, but also be able to catch a ball and dribble a ball and move around while you're doing it. And then the athletes are all strapped into their chairs, and they get banged over and flipped upside down and land pretty rough, and then they pop right back up, and it's something we teach them how to do. And it's the game of wheelchair basketball is a little bit like rugby, hockey, football, and basketball all mixed in together. So the chair is considered part of your body, so we also have to teach them the right way for chair contact, because that's also a foul, like blocking or charging. If you're not in control of your chair, you're in trouble. So there's a lot of nuances that are a little bit different, and the point system is very different. So I can't go out and just recruit the top amputees around the world and bring them all in. So we have 14 points on the floor. So we have class 1s, 1-5, 2, 2-5, 3, 3-5, 4, and 4-5. And those points have to add up to 14 points. So like I'm a class 1, and a single amp would be a class 4-5. So you have to figure out what players are leaving, what players are coming in, how your lineups work together, and how you mix all that stuff together when you're looking at your recruiting and when you're looking at the team that you put on the floor.
And Coach, talk about the recruiting process. I was watching your coach's show after you guys clinched the national title against Arizona, and you said you were going to spend some time with your family, but very quickly you were going to get back to the recruiting process. Recruiting, and no matter what sport it is the lifeblood of a program. But tell the listeners kind of how your recruiting process works.
Well, so basketball season is the same time, except for in Australia. So I spend a lot of my free time that I don't have too much of these days, watching film and really trying to figure out what spots I need to fill and kind of looking at talent through a lens as to where I want to fill it. So recruiting calls are a lot of calls from 6 to 10 p.m., calling folks all over the country, and then you got early calls when you're calling folks from around the world. So you just kind of got to build that into your schedule, and it's something that we work on a regular basis. And we talk about who's leaving, who's coming, kind of what the plan is with the way in which we want our team to be in the next couple of years, and look at who's coming and who's going over those next couple of years too when we start recruiting.
Coach, when you first got into the sport, when you were really becoming successful, you really were enjoying the sport, who was your coach coming up, and who was someone that really motivated you to become the player and the coach that you are today?
Well, there's several people that influenced me in a very positive manner for that. For being the player that I wanted to be, my dad always pushed me to be the best me I could be. And so I attribute a lot of that to my dad. A lot of everything I am goes to my dad. I had Stephanie Johnson was my first coach down in Mobile, and she saw something special in me and pushed me to be great. Tracy Chenoweth at the University of Wisconsin. Whitewater was my coach when I went up there. And then when I came back, Miles Thompson was my head coach when I started here at Alabama, and he really pushed me to be better and to think about the game and really envision the game. And so when I got done coaching, or I got done playing, I went and started coaching, and I was an assistant coach to Dr. Brent Harden, who taught me another way to look at the game. So, and then after that, I went back and was an assistant with Miles Thompson. So the biggest coaching influences to me were Miles Thompson and Dr. Brent Harden. Then you got Dean Smith. I grew up watching Dean Smith and watching the way that he coached. So he's a big influence. And of course, John Wooden and the Pyramid of Success. Miles Thompson taught me the Pyramid of Success, and I've read a lot of John Wooden books and studied him a lot. And it's something I teach our players every year. The Pyramid of Success, we talk about it every week. We talk about it before every practice, each different building block. And so those are big influences on me.
And Coach, I believe you guys won the championship. Was it at Wisconsin Whitewater? That had to be kind of special there with the influence they've had on your career.
Yeah, so it was. And, after the game, the boys were celebrating and cutting down nets. And I got to go over and talk to 3 or 4 of my teammates when I was at Whitewater. And we won a national championship, and they were there, and 2 of my mentors. Throughout the whole thing, were also there, and so I got to sit around and chat with them for a few minutes to enjoy their company. And it was, man, it was a special day, and to have my son and my wife there with us, it was, I'm very blessed. I'm blessed beyond my wildest imaginations when I was young, and so it was pretty awesome, man.
Well, thank you so much, Coach, for getting on with us. We greatly appreciate it. Congratulations as always. Enjoy the off season, and can't wait to have it back and to run it back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats on another national championship. It's huge for our state, for the University of Alabama, and what you guys have accomplished. You guys have a dynasty going on with the men's and the women's programs. Very proud of that, and very proud for you to be able to come on with us and let our listeners know what your remarkable programs are accomplishing.
Thank you all very much for having us. We really appreciate you taking the time to have us on your program, and thank you from the bottom of my heart, and roll Tide.
That was Ford Bertram, Alabama men's wheelchair basketball head coach. We'll be right back on the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman, or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Be sure and join us today from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Welcome back to the Thom Abraham Show. This is Chad Gwathney. I also have Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball sitting in. We are here with the Alabama women's wheelchair head coach, Ryan Hines, as he just won his 4th consecutive national title as a player and a head coach. Coach, thank you so much for being on with us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Coach Ryan Hines, the ladies have now won 4 straight national championships and 9 overall. This program has been going since 2003. It was the first adaptive athletics program started by the University of Alabama. It's turned into a dynasty almost, if you want to compare it in women's athletics, basketball-wise, to UConn or Tennessee. They're very, very consistent, winning 4 straight titles. I mean, Coach Hines, I guess that means some of your seniors, I don't know how many seniors you had on this year's squad, but when you win 4 in a row, that's a career I don't think you can do much better than that.
No, it's very true. We knew coming into the season that we had a really talented group. So kind of the challenge at the beginning of the year is we wanted to be great, and the only way we could do that was by getting to work every day and trying to improve on what we did the previous day. And I think this group really took that to heart, and I think we were playing our best basketball by the end of the season, and I think we had our most efficient offensive game and one of our more efficient defensive games in the championship. And, what more could you ask for? And just couldn't be more proud of this group.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you dominate like you guys did against UT Arlington, you want to play your best game in the finals. And basically from what you're telling us, you felt like your team on both ends of the court did that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first 4 minutes of the game, you could see a lot of championship day jitters, which is really normal. But then after that, we kind of settled in, got used to the crowd noise, got back to playing our brand of basketball, and we did it in dominating fashion. So, again, I couldn't be more proud of the group.
Coach, just speak on being able to play this big championship game in your home court. And you shot, I believe it was 66% from the field, and your bench was outscoring 45-16. I mean, just speak on that and just speak on just the level of play by your players.
Yeah, this was really one of probably our deepest team that we've ever had here at Alabama. And we played for each other. Like, it doesn't matter who's scoring. And when you have that kind of attitude with the talent that we have and then how hard we work, it's a really dangerous combination. And it was just great to see everybody who stepped on the floor being able to contribute to the game, and everybody on the bench who, no matter who was there, was super involved and really helped feed the court with energy. And to be able to do it at home in front of family and friends and our home crowd was a really special feeling.
Coach, was this the first time that the young ladies had been able to play at home for a national championship?
Yeah, so during the kind of COVID season, we hosted here with a very limited field. So this is the first, full college group that we had here. And like I said, to be able to do it at home and play the way we did and in front of everybody had some family there was a really cool experience.
Coach, I asked Coach Bertram the same question. What are the changes you've seen since you were a player to now, and just kind of how the changes with the impact to NIL and just and how it impacts recruiting within wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, it's the sport as a whole. I think wheelchair basketball has grown a lot since I started playing in college way back in 2009. So it's been really cool to see the sport grow. And then, like you said, NIL and all sorts of different things, I think, changed in the environment around it. So it plays a role in it. I think, having our own facility here helps a lot with with recruiting. We're the only one in the country right now specific for adapted sports. And then I think just we're trying to bring in the right people into our program, and I think we've done a great job of that the last several years, bringing in not only great players but also great people and great students.
Well, and Coach Hines, for our listeners, we talked to Coach Buttram about this. He recruits worldwide, and the recruiting process for him, he told us he was going to start, really has already started recruiting since the aftermath, shortly afterwards, of Alabama winning over Illinois, over Illinois, then Arizona, to win the national championship. For you, how is the recruiting process handled on the women's side?
Yeah, I think, very similar to Coach Ford, what he said, it is really year-round. I had a recruit call actually the other night. So
nice.
I think it's something that you just got to it's really about relationship building, having the conversations when you can have the conversations, making sure you're not, breaking any rules as far as contacts go and keeping track of that. But it's really a year-round process now with recruiting, and kind of similar to what Coach Ford was saying, it is worldwide. We have 3 international girls on the team this past season, and then 10 girls kind of spread out throughout the United States. So you have to be creative with it, and you have to, rely on film and stuff like that so you can see everything that is out there. And like I said, bring in the right people into the program.
So, Coach, just speak on some of these athletes that you were talking about, some of these ladies that were able to score in the double digits in this national title game.
Yeah, so again, I think this team especially was just so balanced in our scoring throughout the year. We could score in a lot of different ways, inside, outside, and just to have multiple people in double figures in a championship game, I think, is just a real reflection on what we were all season, which is a really team-first group, and the fact that we were really dominant offensively all year. With multiple people in double figures, and I think we had one person that ended the game with 8, so we almost had even more people in double figures in that game.
Well, and Coach, and talk about the support you get. I know, as Coach Buttram was saying, and Ford Buttram, he was talking about how, again, you guys are a separate entity from Alabama athletics, but you're supported by the university, you're supported by the school president. Talk about all the support you get from the University of Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's been, for me, one of the coolest things to see since I've been here for, over 10 years now as a player and then assistant coach and now as a head coach. The university support has grown so much in that, last 15 years especially. At our national tournament here last week, we had the president of the university and his wife at both of our last 2 games. And just to have the people at the top supporting us and coming to most, if not all, of our home games, I think is huge. And, the university support over the years has gotten a lot more. And we had a packed crowd for our nationals. And what more could you ask for, really?
Coach, just speak on you as a player and what has kind of led to you to become a head coach nowadays.
Yeah, obviously sports has always been an important part of my life, and getting to come here to Alabama and be a student athlete was for me really a dream come true, from playing sports at a young age and stand up, and then when I got injured, to continue to be able to play in the adapted sports world. So I always enjoyed it. I always appreciated everything that I had, and for me now to have the opportunity to get back into coaching, get into coaching and be able to, I think, give back to a sport that has given me so much has been so fun. And I just enjoy the girls that I get to work with on a daily basis. And, they say that if you're doing something you enjoy, it doesn't feel like work. And I think that's really true. And it's great to be able to create these relationships that'll last a lifetime.
Well, just speak on some of the coaches that led you to be able to become the player you are, who basically got you into the sport and gave you a chance.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, especially in wheelchair basketball, it started in high school with my high school coach, Jim Zomchek. He kind of found me pretty soon after I was injured and kind of told me about wheelchair basketball, tried out the sport, not knowing much about it, fell in love with it right away. Let me be athletic, let me be active, and eventually opened the door to a scholarship to go to Alabama. And then my coach here, Miles Thompson, was a huge influence on me as a player and kind of influenced a lot of my coaching strategies. And then I also worked under Ford Bertram for 2 years as his assistant coach. So he was also a big mentor to me to get into coaching. And there's other coaches that I work with now. Christina Schwab with Team USA is a mentor for me. I'm her assistant coach with Team USA. So there's a lot of different people that I look at, that I look up to and can bounce ideas off of. And I'm appreciative for all of the influences for me.
And that was, of course, Ryan Hines, the Alabama women's wheelchair basketball head coach. 4-time winning national championship. I mean, men and women were able to take home the title this year. And I just want to say, it was great to have them on. And it was great to have Steve Merrill on earlier today from Wager Talk TV and ProSportsInfo.com, and also Alec Bussey from Rivals.com. And just great to have the guys on as well. Guys, thank you so much for being on with me today.
Hey, anytime we can come on and take over the Thom Abraham Show, we're always happy to do it.
Yeah, I always love to do it because people get to listen a little bit to the little dog as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, Thom will be back tomorrow. Of course, he'll be live from Knoxville, Tennessee for the Bassmaster event going on out there. It's going on from the 24th to the 26th. So we're very excited to hear from him as he gets back, and he'll break down the latest from the Alabama Crimson Tide as they take on San Diego State tomorrow. Coverage starts at 4:30 in the afternoon. Thank you so much for listening in, everybody. This has been the Thom Abraham Show with Chad Gwathney, John Abraham, and Bailey Lowery. We're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. You guys have a good rest of your day.
And make sure you guys listen into the Afternoon Blitz tomorrow at 2. It's going to be a fun Friday. And also, we got a recap of this show coming up over on the Afternoon Blitz as soon as we're done here. But thank you guys very much, and we will see you tomorrow. The Thom Abraham's back on with you.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.